Cain Show begins in 1 minute.
One, the left's four heroes, two alleged murderers, an MS-13 gang member, and other criminals. Why is it that the left has all of a sudden decided that they're heroes? And maybe not all of a sudden, but a trend that now has lasted for several decades, that the worst of us are the best. We break it down with Brian Kilmeade. 2, dinner time conversation with the family. Top 10 most famous people in the world morphed into a debate with my sons, and I never thought this would happen in my house. But LeBron versus Jordan. 3, how do you buy a home in this environment? Tips on the biggest nest egg in history, how to buy your home. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. 12 o'clock Eastern Time every Monday through Thursday. Available for subscription at Apple or on Spotify. We got Brian Kilmeade coming up today, as well as a discussion on the top 10 most famous people in the world. Got the boys in New York, Tinfoil Pat, Young Establishment James, and Two-A-Days Dan. The Donald Trump is without a doubt the most famous man in the world, right? Mm-hmm. That's not an American-centric point of view anymore, is it? I mean, I think random person, random country, probability of saying, of course I know who that is. Donald Trump is number one.
Could you imagine meeting someone who doesn't?
Yeah, I can't actually. So,
I don't think so.
That's my point.
That'd be funny.
What?
Yeah, no, there's no one that doesn't know who he is.
I mean, I started thinking about this last night, and I got in this conversation. Like Taylor Swift, Vladimir Putin, The Rock, Ronaldo. Like, where does this go? Who are the 10 most famous people in the world? We're going to break that down a little bit later today. Coming up tomorrow, I know this because I just got done with it. Going to totally dork out. Going to give an hour to talking about the NFL draft. We're 1 week away. I love it. I can't explain it. And we've got an old friend of mine, Todd McShay, who has a new show on The Ringer called The McShay Show, and he's going to be streaming during the draft. And it's something I dork out on, that I can't explain. I try to understand about myself. But like Two-A-Days, you're a big sports fan, and this doesn't do it for you in the same way it does it for me, right? Like if I can't help it, I won't miss the first 4 rounds. That doesn't mean I'll be parked, but I'll have it. Like, I'll be streaming it on my phone, listening. I'll be having it on TVs as I walk around the house, doing stuff. It'll be on around for 3 days.
I just think, my team has all the things we need, so I just don't have to worry about the draft as much as you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I like it a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, but you don't love it. Like, I start reading about it. I read Dane Brugler's The Beast. Yeah. I play with mock draft simulators. Fun. I listen to podcasts. I want to know who's going to be available. And I want to think about, I love the sequencing. Like, well, but I could maybe get that guy in the 3rd round. I was telling you, I think it may be like shopping for men.
It is. You can talk about it. Hey, Brian Kilmeade's here.
Hey.
Brian Kilmeade's coming here. Yeah.
Right in there. That one, yeah. So yeah, you can talk about it. It's like what guys talk about. It's the gossip. It's everything you need. It's the thing you can talk about for the next few weeks.
And I think like shopping, it's so great before, it's so shiny when you're in the store, and you take it home. Maybe it's good, probably not.
That's exactly
and
how
then
it
you're back
feels.
next year.
That's exactly how it feels. Like, it's a huge letdown Monday after the draft. I don't care about your draft grades. I don't want to talk about who did well. I just care about it before it happens. And then the next time I care is training camp, see how they're doing. So anyway, tomorrow, a full episode, a full hour with Todd McShay, absolutely breaking down the NFL draft. We can't keep the star waiting. Let's get to it with story number one. The host of the Brian Kilmeade Show at Fox News Radio, one of the hosts of Fox and Friends. For what are we on, Brian? 25 years?
Yeah, about
How long
that.
have you been hosting Fox and Friends?
About that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, what do you think's too much? Like, what is too long? Will?
For who?
For me,
you?
yeah.
For the audience?
Yeah, let's think of the audience.
Well, I don't think the audience thinks there's too long.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I really don't. No, I really don't. I'm not just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
I don't. I think for you, that's an interesting question. Like, do you ever get tired of doing the same thing for 25 years? Do you love it every day that you wake up? Do you want a new challenge? I think that's actually interesting.
I mean, the thing that's changed is the jobs changed so much. A lot, the nature of the news, radically, the competition. I mean, when I first got the job, it would be like, okay, you do cable for a while, you see how far that can go, and then then the Today Show is the major leagues. But now it's not clear there is an NFL. Like the networks is an NFL. I don't think so at all. Everything's been flattened out and changed. So you just were lucky enough to have got on a network that only got better and bigger. But at the same time, it's impossible not to notice what you're doing now and podcasting and what's going on with the people becoming their own journalistic force about what's happening. So I just think it's great to be able to talk about things that matter most.
How different is Fox and Friends from when you first started? Like how you covered the news? Would you say like 20 years ago it was a vastly different show?
So this is what we used to do. We used to get in. I remember I had a conversation with the vice president. I said, listen, do you think it would help to have a BlackBerry? Because people can keep in touch with the news. You can get in touch with them. They're like, yeah, let's think of it. No, we don't think. We just need to get in touch with the producers. You don't really need to be text message or anything like that. And I thought, all right, maybe things will change. Now, can you imagine not doing your shows without text messaging, be able to pick up your phone and follow the news? So we used to come in, we used to have a stack of pages like this, and it would be, not going to do it. Try to anticipate where we're going to go. And then we'd have an executive producer come in with a pencil. And he didn't want to get there too early. He was great. Matt Singerman did a great job. But he would get in at 5:40 and go, yeah, I think we're doing this. Write it out in pencil. And then we would write it down as he wrote it, and then we'd go out and do the show. Literally, there was almost no production value, no full screens. So we'd have some tape we'd go to. And now, we have a reporter before a talking point to a reporter. Production values to everything, right? What you're doing for an hour, what you do with this.
No, I'm still learning. I mean, I've only been doing my own show for whatever it's been, 3 months, and I'm still learning how you produce a TV show, and I'm also trying not to produce a TV show. So it's a yin and a yang for me. I'll figure it out. But one thing that you learn is TV is a visual medium, very different than this. Even though we're on YouTube and Facebook right now, but you have to keep television visually stimulating the entire time. A great conversation, honestly, is just difficult on television. I see the numbers, I see the ratings and how it goes. Like, you got to have something on screen to look at.
Which is the exact opposite of podcasting. For example, remember they told us in today's day and age, it's got to be a lot of flashes, a lot of movement. It's the MTV generation. Everybody's got ADD. Yep. Okay, then explain the format of podcasting where you open up, hey, how you doing? Nice shirt. What are you doing? You see the traffic? So you have small talk. I go, wait a second. I thought we were the ADD generation. We need so much stimulation. How can that be and podcasting thrive? They work against each other. Don't you agree?
Yeah, yes, but, and I'm very cognizant of this with the Will Cain Show, because when I first got the show and the conversations that I've had since then, It is seen as a bridge between the two mediums. They and I want it to be. But I also respect that different mediums have successes for different reasons. It's not just that you should take a podcast and put it on TV. You could take the Joe Rogan show, which is obviously hugely successful, and you could put it on CNN, and that doesn't mean it's going to rate. That doesn't mean it's going to do very well because it's a different platform, and people do different things as they consume different platforms. You know what I mean? Now, over time, Brian, I think that's going to merge because as all these screens become one, and that's what's happening, there's no difference between a podcast and a digital streaming show. There's going to be less of a difference between a digital streaming show and a television. But for now, I remember, and I think it still matters, and I was just watching, and I think I read an interview by Bill O'Reilly, and O'Reilly said in doing The Factor, I never forget that someone is sitting on their couch with the remote control in their hand and their thumb on the button to change the channel, waiting for you to bore them in the slightest possible way, and then they click.
Yeah, he was a producer. He is a producer and a host, no question. By the way, and I've said this before, and you know this is true, I love your show. And it's Will Cain, and it's different, but yet you know what stories the America wants, which simultaneously you care about. But it's really unique. And I'm always winning this thing because I'm in the car at this time. Always. I was catching Neil Cavuto for years. Always would catch his show. And I'm always around at 4 o'clock. So I'm listening every day. It's fantastic. It's a mix of long form, short form, and it's a perfect blend with this. And I think that you are enjoying it. Am I correct?
I am. I'm angsty. I talk about our bosses with this all the time, because I have a vision, and we're not there yet on our vision, and I'm angsty, and I want to get there, and I'm enjoying it. But that is what enjoyment is to me. Enjoyment isn't just chilling. Like enjoyment is like I'm creating, I'm shaping, I'm frustrated, I'm angsty. That's just part of who I am. Like if I look up and it's just like easy and fun every day, I'll probably get bored pretty quick. You know what I mean?
Well, but plus, the one thing they did at Fox is they give you numbers every day. And the one thing that Roger Ailes is always like, I want you to know if you're winning or not. I want you to know what your demo is. So I thought that was interesting because for a lot of places, that's for the management to know. You just do your job. Here they go, no, your job is to win every day and figure it out. Yeah. So that's what I love, like that sports mentality. No, you got to win. You don't just have to play well, you got to win. If you're not winning, I don't know if I can keep you. You take up too much room on the salary cap. We're gonna have to make a trade. So So that's what I enjoy about Fox. And like I talk to a lot of people on the networks, they have no idea what their ratings are, and I feel like going, I know what they are, and it's not good.
I know. Yeah, totally. I look. This is a new thing for me. I look every day, and I look at the other people as well. So I know. All right, I want to show you this, Brian. I don't know if you guys did this on Fox Friends. I did this yesterday on the television show. I find this fascinating. Let's put this up this tweet by Peachy Keenan, who is a journalist, a deep thinker on the right. And she said this. She said, the Democrats' top 4 heroes in America are now, 1, a murderer named Luigi. That's Luigi Mangione, the alleged killer of the United Healthcare CEO. 2, a murderer named Carmelo. That's the alleged murder of Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Texas. 3, an MS-13 illegal gang member. That's Abrego Garcia.
Yep.
And 4, a Palestinian Hamas supporter. This is Mahmoud Khalil, the Colombia protester that they're deporting. I think this, I really thought about this, Brian, and I thought, is that unfair? Someone on the left would say, we're standing up for principles in each and every one of these situations. The person is not the point. The principle is the point. But in totality, where you're making your stand on your principles, it's pretty interesting that the thing you talk about most are some of the, I don't want to call them the worst people, but the alleged, the accused, worst in the news.
Well, a couple of things. It really, those 4 people you mentioned, the only one that's not clearly a Democratic cause is Luigi. That's a murder of a CEO, and you just might say to yourself, my family's been screwed by a healthcare company, so therefore I like the guy. But you wouldn't like the guy if he looked like the, let's say, would-be assassin of Governor Shapiro. A guy looks like a vagrant, hooked on meth. This guy's a good-looking guy. He assassinates somebody. I mean, you could say alleged all you want, but we caught him on camera just executing somebody, and we see the whole thing. We see the plot and the plan, and so he did it. So to me, it's a lack of values and ethics amongst these people, no question about it. And when you look at Mahmoud Khalil, if you are supportive of him, you are for Hamas and Palestinians. So I mean, you could decide to be on the wrong side of right and wrong. Go ahead, but there's no glory in that the MS-13 guy who's in El Salvador. Those are three of these are political pawns. I want to stand up for the Palestinians because you think more people are for Palestinians than are for Israel. You don't really think anti-Semitism is a big deal. And then you might have a problem with our healthcare company, but you said nothing about it. And this guy doesn't even stand for anything. He had no problem with U.S. healthcare or whatever the company this guy represented. This guy was just bizarre, out of his mind, and was dead set on killing somebody. He had back pain, but no healthcare company rejected him. So you could name those 4 people, but I think it's more of an indictment on an indictment on what Democrats think they have to use to get traction.
That's maybe the interesting part. So if I had Glenn Greenwald on the show right now, and I've had Glenn Greenwald on the television show talking about the Mahmoud Khalil deal, he wouldn't sit here and go, I love Mahmoud Khalil, I don't think. What he would say is, I care about free speech and the United States' dedication to the concept of free speech. And yet you are violating that dedication by deporting Mahmoud Khalil because of the things that he said and he has supported. Similarly, I think some, maybe even like Trey Gowdy, I think I saw him the other day, who's not on the left, with Abrego Garcia would say, I care about due process, in violating a judge's order in deporting this guy, not that I care about an alleged MS-13 member. But what I find of note is, and I don't think I'm being unfair when I say the totality of the people that become those that you champion. Mm-hmm. These are the 4 of the moment. In the past, we've seen Dzhokhar Tsarnaev romanticized, the Boston bomber. We have seen in the 70s the Puerto Rican separatist movements. Yeah. And then those guys were pardoned. Those were pardoned. Was it by Obama that pardoned those guys? Or Clinton that pardoned those guys? So you keep coming up with examples that kind of leads you towards this. Right. In totality, what does that say about your movement?
I think people are looking to rally behind something that matters. Before I hopped on, you were talking about the NFL draft, and people are looking for their own teams, their own colleges. Now, all of a sudden, what my cause is this. And who's the symbol of my cause? It's that. But I think that I heard someone talking about the first time we started really romanticizing bad guys were Bonnie and Clyde, when you were actually pulling for the criminals in a movie. And that's what it seems like now. We're pulling for the criminals. But usually the criminals who went out of their way, for example, a dad who sees the rapist of his daughter in the courtroom and before conviction walks up and blows his head off. Then you could say, I know that dad goes through and that guy is worse than the devil. I understand that. But when I look at the 4 people you mentioned, as an American, I have zero. I have nothing but animus to their direction.
And I think evidence of what you and I are talking about, that not for everybody, but so the left can go one of 2 ways. They can start finding positive figures to be their champions and suggesting this is their vision of America. Or you're in this position where the 4 people you talk about the most are the ones we just discussed. And while there's some, Greenwald perhaps, or others that rest on principle, there are others, like Taylor Lorenz, who say this about Luigi Mangione.
So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
She's purring, man. That's the word I use. I mean, Luigi. I mean, sure, she'll give you the number, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, and you always know where he's going to be every day, so that's an attractive part of a relationship too. You could, exactly. But the other thing, so he's basically described everything he's not, except for he's got thick eyebrows. Even his family doesn't like him. Do you notice that? This family of wealth. We thought we were going to be seeing brothers and sisters and explanations. We don't hear anything about this guy. So anybody who thinks beyond the murder, he's a pretty good guy, I'm pretty sure their family figured it out too. I didn't even hear about his mom. So there's no one even pleading his case. In fact, this guy's not pleading his case. Evidently, he doesn't even love the letters. This guy is somebody hanging out in prison. But I tell you, if you're a Democrat, you've been basically caught up in a trap, because when it comes to this latest guy, Kilmeade, interesting first name, Alberto Garcia, this is a total trap. I mean, the more we find out about this guy, we find out that he was pulled over, driving without a license, 6 months in jail, 7 people with him. The FBI takes pictures of him, one of which is on the terror watch list. Beats his wife at least 2 times. She'd called the cops for an order of protection. Then we find out when he gets picked up, he's got rolls of money and hanging out with the worst of the worst. And he might even be a higher up in MS-13. And I'm looking at this Senator Van Hollen and next week, Cory Booker. Good luck with that. When I told you,
you're 100% right.
This is crazy. This is a trap.
The Maryland man, the Maryland father. If you're Chris Van Hollen, Democratic Senator, just made that trip to El Salvador,
yeah.
I hope you've done your research. I hope you've done your background checks, because you have gone all in on a guy that, at the very least, there's some pretty compelling evidence that he's a bad dude, okay? And there may be more that comes out about this dude. So if there's more that comes out, you just cast your lot with him. And the Rachel Morin's mother thing yesterday was incredibly emotional and compelling. She made the appearance with Caroline Levitt and talked about brutal details of how her daughter was married.
Was that your hour, by the way? Was that
the last 15, 20 minutes of my hour, yeah.
Do you know that you were the only network to take it? You were the only show to take it?
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. CNN and MSNBC and others, nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
0 minutes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So a woman that's raped with 5 kids by an illegal immigrant, really not compelling enough. You know, we've got to. I guess they were talking baseball or something on the NBA. Excuse me, NBA playoffs on CNN. I think instead of this. But
no way.
Yeah.
They were talking NBA playoffs.
Yeah. NBA playoffs. They were one of their topics during that period was they were talking about NBA playoffs, just stuff. But you don't want to hear that story because the senator from Maryland is in San Salvador trying to get into a supermax prison when he knew he wasn't going to get in. So good luck with that.
Incredible. Let me have to talk about that later. Okay, but so what we're talking about beyond principle now, which I think we addressed some of that, the political side of this. You're in a bad spot, Democrats. Like, you are in a really bad spot in how this plays in the public's mind. And it's just a reflection of how lost you are in finding something that represents you and is positive. And so then I give you, Brian, George Clooney on CNN talking about the role that he played in basically taking down Joe Biden. Watch.
It was a civic duty because I found that people on my side of the street, you know, I'm a Democrat. I was a Democrat in Kentucky, so I get it. When I saw people on my side of the street not telling the truth, I thought that was time to...
Are people still mad at you for that?
Some people, sure. It's okay. You know, listen, the idea of freedom of speech, you know, the specific idea of it is, you know, you can't demand freedom of speech and then say, but don't say bad things about me.
Right.
That's the deal. You have to take a stand if you believe in it. Take a stand for it, and then deal with the consequences. That's the rules. And so when people criticize me, they criticize me because of my stance against the war 20 years ago, and so people picketed my movies and they put me on a deck of cards, and I have to take that. That's fair. I'm okay with that.
Okay. There's a lot there, but before I even get into the substance, Ryan, I've talked about this several times. I read this once, and I don't remember who said it. I've always attributed it to Ronald Reagan's communication advisor, because I think that's where I read it originally. He said, it's 80% how you look, it's 15% how you sound, and 5% what you say. And as I'm watching that, if you're listening on radio or on Spotify, Apple, George Clooney's hair is dyed like jet black, which to be fair, is because he's promoting and playing Edward R. Murrow on Broadway. But I'm just sitting there looking at the way he looks, and not in a positive or negative way. I'm just going, why does he look so weird right now? He looks weird in that clip. And the second thing is, but he is a good communicator. Like, his voice cadence, his up and down, his deep voice. And I sat there and watched that going, I don't think I have that. Whatever that is, he's got that. Like, he can carry an hour.
Well, put it this way. I think you're aging a lot better, Will. I don't know if it's moisturizer, what you're doing, but he is, he was twice the world's sexiest man, to go back to him, are we out of sexy men that you got to make him a return sexiest men? But having said that, do you notice that in the interview that when he's standing next to Joe Biden at that famous event where he decided at that moment that Joe Biden cannot be president again, his shirt was buttoned down just shy of his navel. Now, I'm not one to judge about dressing casually, but how could that have been a good move? Were you out of buttons? Was it the shirt almost ripped off? But the other thing about George Clooney makes him seem totally insincere. And you know this because I think we've done this show together when we were probably on together or in roughly the same time when he did this. He has this event, and Joe Biden's got to fly back and forth twice. He's got to go from the G7 to the G20. And in between, he shows up at George Clooney's Hollywood-studded event for a fundraiser. You would think any handler would say, Joe, just zoom in. You don't need to show up. It's too much. You're 111 years old. You don't look good anyway. But he does it. So he's catatonic. When that comes to an end, he says nothing. He speaks up after the debate. So if you have courage, you speak up in 2022. You speak up after that event before the debate. But it doesn't take any courage to speak up first. And then he picked up the phone, according to one of these books, and called Morning Joe when Mika said he was put up to it by Barack Obama. How dare you say that? This guy comes off cool and let me just do the right thing as an American. Total manipulation. And lastly, he does back Obama when he says we wanted to make sure that there was somewhat of a jungle primary, mini primary, to pick the best candidate. So he wasn't for her either. Either was Obama. It was Biden coming back around and saying, I'm going to show you. I'm going to pick the person we all know is incompetent and terrible and unpopular. So he got the ultimate say-so. And in the end, the Democrats just lose all across the board. He wants Wes Moore, evidently.
I saw that. He likes Wes Moore, which, by the way, we've discussed it here on the show. Honestly, he may be right on that. It may be the best worst option, or the best worst option for Democrats. I don't know. There's nobody else. Like Gavin Newsom, I don't see it. Stephen A. Smith, I don't see it. But back to George Clooney. Give me a break on your civic duty. You laid the case out well. He knew beforehand that Joe Biden was not in good shape. You weren't just telling the truth. It had become obvious that he couldn't win. That's when you decided to say something about it. And you were put up to it by Obama. So don't give me this civic duty stuff here today. That's just beyond rich. By the way, last point on this is the declining cultural influence of somebody like George Clooney. In your and my lifetime, movie stars like George Clooney, the world's sexiest man, that mattered. I don't know that it mattered to Washington, D.C., but it mattered to America. Like, if he said something, it influenced people. In my world now, George Clooney's voice on politics means almost nothing.
I agree.
And it certainly means less than, honestly, Theo Vaughn, Shane Gillis, Andrew Schultz.
Yeah, I would think so too. The other thing is just movies are down. Movies used to dominate. You dominated the box office. He was money in the box office. Tom Cruise probably still is, but so what? Mission Impossible is a big hit. Okay. I just feel as though Hollywood, the whole entertainment, that's flattened out too, like broadcasting has. And you look at, what's that Netflix show? I never saw that guy before, but it's a good show. It's okay. Star with me. But I'm going to move on with my life and not ask what he does for a living, how he feels about our culture, who he voted for or she voted for. We just move on. And I think that Hollywood, by the way, they don't do anything in California anymore either. So there really is, Hollywood's a name only because they literally can't afford to tape anything in California. Nobody. First it was Georgia. Now it's Romania. Now it's South Africa. Now they go to Egypt because there's all these incentives to bring movies out of the country. That's another problem.
I saw Rob Lowe talking about that. I saw a clip of Rob Lowe saying nothing is made in California and won't be. You have to go to New Mexico or Texas or internationally, to your point. Right. Last thing, Brian. This caught my attention. I actually want to do it. I don't think I'm going to do it today, but I've been wanting to do this. Tax day was just the other day, April 15th. It's interesting how, for a lot of people, it may come and go because you've already paid your taxes. Because your company, most most employees, I don't know what the percentages are these days, are W-2 employees. They withhold on you. They pay your taxes throughout the year.
Yep.
You do nothing on tax day. If you've ever had to write a check because you're a freelancer or anything like that, then you understand the pain of tax day. Like writing a check to the government it's a painful process. I didn't know this, Brian. Milton Friedman, famed free market economist, actually championed the idea of withholding. He thought it was a good idea back in the 1930s or 40s. He came to regret that. Here is Milton Friedman.
As I said before, keep your eye on one thing and one thing only, how much government is spending, because that's the true tax. Every budget is balanced. There is no such thing as an unbalanced federal budget. You're paying for it. If you're not paying for it through it in the form of explicit taxes, you're paying for it indirectly in the form of inflation or in the form of borrowing. The thing you should keep your eye on is what government spends. And the real problem is to hold down government spending as a fraction of our income. And if you do that, you can stop worrying about the debt.
And he said that later, you can't control government spending if taxes are simply confiscated from you along the way with withholding. Because you don't pay the price. So nobody cares about government spending. You do pay it, but it's much less painful. I would love to go back to a system where everybody had to budget and write a check to the government.
Absolutely. And we'll add something to that. Not only when you have withholding, you look at your check and you go, how much did I net, right? You don't like when we used to get paychecks. Now we don't even touch our money. Direct deposit, what's the total?
Yeah.
I'll go in, transfer money, pay on your card, touch it, and we go. So we're not even looking at the stub anymore. So if we're not even the discipline to flip it over and say how much is going to healthcare and how much is going to the state, how much is going to the federal government, how much is going to the city. Now we don't even get it. So we just say how much are being paid. So you don't even think about it. But if you and I do speeches for $100, if they, do you realize $55 or it's going to the federal government? Everything you do privately, the small businesses know that every day. So every single day, they really are on top of things. When you're a private contractor, you get that 1099 and you get that money, just know that's not your money. One of the biggest mistakes you make is thinking, well, look at the money I have. I'll worry about that at the end of the year. That's why people hate the day. You got to pay it back gradually, but it makes people really love Doge and the government efficiency. If you're going to take my money, at least use it right. Don't give it to Whoopi Goldberg to start speaking positively about the Democratic Party or anybody else to put together their
Is Whoopi getting government money?
There's another story out there
NPR,
that she was getting paid money to talk about positive things about the Biden administration. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. That's fascinating.
And we know Stacey Abrams, billions of dollars for something she knew nothing about. $100 a year before.
It's our money. It's your money.
Right.
And you should have to write the check so you know and you care how much you're giving them. That's the only way. The digital thing is such a great point. It's why healthcare costs go up every year.
Yep.
Because it doesn't feel like it's your money because it's through insurance, right? So everything, if it's third party, if it's third withholding, the less painful it is, the less we remember it's our money. And so I don't know. I think we have to go back to writing checks.
So Will,
all right, the host of the Brian Kilmeade Show and Fox and Friends. What's up, Brian?
The one thing I want to say, the 1099 I have is I do those live shows on stage, and I'm going to give you an opportunity. And if you want it, it's in August 23rd. I'm going to be on stage in Dallas with History, Liberty, and Laughs. And it's a venue that's way too big, 2,200 people. BrianKilmeade.com. You could see an example. They're probably going to stream it on Fox Nation, where I bring history to life. And I added Pete to this one year, the Secretary of Defense. We had Rachel in there. We had Carly when I came to New Jersey.
Don't you make them dress up? Don't I have to dress up in like colonial garb or something? That's what I heard.
I go back in time. I transport you in time. So I'm going to make you. I'm not going to make you act out of your character. I'm just going to tap into your passion for patriotism. But August 23rd. So I want to see it. BrianKilmeade.com for tickets. All right. Family and friends at Will Cain. Okay.
And I will be there. August 23rd sounds like a good date to me in Dallas. Check him out at the Brian Kilmeade Show on Fox News Radio. Thanks so much, Brian.
All right. Stay within yourself, Will.
I will. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, the top 10 most famous people in the world. Where does Donald Trump rank next on The Will Cain Show?
Kudlow on Fox Business is now on the go for podcast fans. Download the Kudlow Show podcast every weekday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com. Kudlow covers the latest headlines and business trends with an emphasis on the financial impact facing households and businesses across the country. Listen to interviews with key business newsmakers. The Kudlow podcast will be available on the go after the show every weekday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
It's Rachel Campo-Stuffy. Join me for Fox Noticias, a show that breaks down the news of the day with a focus on the kitchen table issues that matter most to our community. Politics, the economy, immigration, and cultural trends. Weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox Deportes and available at noticias.foxnews.com, the Fox Noticias YouTube page, and Fox Nation. Or listen and follow the podcast at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
I'm Benjamin Hall, Fox News senior correspondent and New York Times best-selling author, and I'm searching for heroes. Every Monday, I'll speak with a few silent but noteworthy heroes, everyday people who illuminate stories of compassion and are true embodiments of heroism. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast, Searching for Heroes with Benjamin Hall, wherever you download podcasts, and please leave a rating and a review.
Top 10 most famous people in the world. Here on The Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe, please, on Apple or Spotify. Join the Willisha. Let's bring in two-a-days, Dan, Young Establishment James. So, last night at dinner with the family, sitting around talking, and it came up like, well, I mean, it sounds so, now that I feel like I have to say this to set it, Dad, who do you know, I'm sorry,
Name
about
drop.
to sneeze. So,
God bless.
all right, Dad.
Bless you.
Dad, who do you know, where are they in the most famous people in the world? So we got to talking about it. And we started debating, family style, first take style, the most famous people in the world. And it was pretty fun.
Will Cain.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna go to AI and I'm gonna ask AI. I use Perplexity, it's my favorite right now. And I asked it for the 10 most famous people in the world. And I was actually disappointed in its results. And I said, wait a minute. You've got to include pop stars because I feel like it was athlete heavy. And they're like, oh, okay. And then I said, wait a minute. You got to include politicians, like world leaders, because I want to know, random dude in Nigeria, hey, man, have you heard of this person? And who has the highest hit rate? But not just Nigeria, obviously Venezuela, Nevada, Romania. I want to know all over the world. And by the way, there's a lot of people in India and China, so I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance some cricket star should be in here that I've never heard of.
Well, LeBron.
Like cricket's actually,
Yeah.
cricket's huge in India, obviously,
Yeah.
and Pakistan, and that's a lot of people.
That's true.
China's a huge wild card in this. I'm going to give you the top 10, but now I'm thinking about it. Like,
Does Xi go up?
I should have prompted it, include Chinese and Indian stars,
Like
because
Mao?
there's just so much population.
China loves the NBA, though.
Yao Ming would be up
So
there.
that's a
I guess.
big
Okay.
factor.
All right. Well, I'll give you the 10. You tell me if you think somebody's missing along the way and what we think. I'm going to give you 9 and 10 together. First, number 10, Selena Gomez. Number 9, Beyonce. Okay, I'm a little surprised. Not at Beyonce, but at Selena Gomez. Now, this is probably my age. James, you're 25. Is she that big?
Yeah. We grew up with her.
A song? Do I know a Selena Gomez song?
You do if
what
you
is-
heard it.
What is?
You would.
Okay.
We grew up with her too. Like Disney used to be like kind of like a monoculture that every kid would watch, and
Yeah.
she had a couple famous shows on there too.
She's big
before
for
became
Disney.
a singer.
Yep.
Is she international? I mean, I know she is Europe and places like that, but like
Latin America too.
Is she outside? How about this? Is she outside of Western culture? Like, is she big in Central America?
Does she have
Is she
Spanish?
big in Asia?
I think she has Spanish versions of her songs too. I could be totally wrong, but I think I just saw that on Spotify.
Yeah, she's huge. I mean, yeah, she does Spanish versions of songs. I mean, her monthly listeners are 56 million on Spotify a month. It's a lot.
Well, this gets to number 8. Like, what is the measurement? My son started talking about Instagram followers, and I said Instagram is only one metric. I think it matters, but that's one. And I'm more interested in just general name recognition. I know who that is, and if you ever overestimate the public, watch Johnny on Jesse Waters Primetime, and you'll remember exactly the depth of the public's full knowledge here on this stuff. But number 8, LeBron James. I thought LeBron would be top 10. I think basketball is incredibly international. He's far and away the most famous guy in basketball right now. And I only say right now because I never thought this would happen. I don't think in my years in sports, in 5 years on First Take and 3 years of the Will Cain Show, I don't think I once had a LeBron versus Jordan debate. Maybe.
Really?
Good for you.
Maybe once on First Take.
You're the only one.
I know that's why I'm not going to do it, because everybody does it. It's so trite and worn out.
But we ended up in a
debate last night because my sons had the nerve to say LeBron. I was like, you're morons.
You got a point.
Like you're so young. It's not even close.
That shows age.
Close?
That's what I said. Like, it's Jordan far and away. And then they tried, and get this, my 13-year-old tried to argue LeBron would have been more successful in Jordan's era than Jordan LeBron's. And I said, now you've killed it.
Get out of here. No
You
way.
love that, James? Do you buy that, James?
I get why you're making fun of it, and that could be true. But he's also a far superior athlete to anyone in that era, because he's accumulating for the current standards of the game.
Overall,
athlete.
I
think the biggest thing we took away from watching The Last Dance at one point was just the comparison of, like, nowadays they have all these super plyometrics and crazy, like, sleep and diet and workouts. And, like, back in the day, Jordan, after games, like, smoking a cigar and having a six-pack, and he's got a game the next night. You would never see that in the NBA today. So I do think there's a chance that LeBron physically might have overpowered some folks in that time.
Okay, first
Jordan
of all, listen to this
50
conversation
points
take
now.
off. We're doing top 10 most famous people, and all of a sudden we're knee-deep. We're knee-deep in LeBron versus Jordan.
Damn it.
But I'm going to say this.
Believe.
I'm going to say this. The idea, you're tempted to do it because LeBron is what, 6'8", 6'9", 250, and so he's got the size. But the physicality of the 90s compared to now isn't comparable.
Who do you think
so
benches
LeBron
more?
better get...
Doesn't matter.
But the point is, LeBron lives in a space now that is not transportable. So Charles Oakley and Bill Laimbeer banging on him for a full game is way different. I'm not saying LeBron couldn't handle it. Dennis Rodman. Where Jordan would walk into today's game with the amount of space that they now have in the game, and quite honestly, the lack of defense, the softness of it, and the fouls that are called. And, I mean, Jordan might score 60 a night.
He would average
in this
80
current
points.
NBA.
He would average 80 points right now in today's NBA.
It's Jordan. All right, at number 7 on the world's most famous people, friend of the Will Cain Show, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the reasons this conversation came up last night. And we all expected The Rock to be a top 10er, maybe a top 5er. But as I look at this list, I'm not sure he beats anybody in the top 5. But The Rock is huge. At number 6, Elon Musk, world's richest man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. You think?
Worldwide, absolutely. He's I'm surprised he's not higher on that list. I would put him at top 3.
Definitely Europe.
Yeah.
I think probably Asia.
China. Yeah, of course.
You think South America, Elon Musk is top of name, top of mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the past 6 months.
you're probably right.
Yeah. I think he's number 2,
Well,
number 3.
let me stay in this category. not making the top 10, Bill Gates. Do you think there's a big drop-off there on name recognition?
Yeah, overseas probably not.
So I asked ChatGPT.
And even... Go ahead.
I asked it to give Hegseth a definitive number, and it said somewhere in the top 500.
500? I actually don't think that's probably... I don't know.
Gates,
I don't know at that
Gates
point.
would be up there. I would say Gates top 30, top 20.
What about Bezos? Lower still, right?
Lower still. Name recognition, not so much. We know it a lot because what we do for work, but I don't think anywhere else in the world you're going to get that same reaction.
Yeah. All right. So this is if The Rock was going to climb into the top 5, he'd have to beat one of these. At number 5, Lionel Messi. I think,
big time,
without a doubt, worldwide, well known. I mean, the point is not America on this; it's everywhere else in the world, and he's known in America now. Coming to Miami, I'm sure, hugely helped him with name recognition in America. At number 4, Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
I buy it.
Yep.
Dan, you watch White Lotus. I watch White Lotus. Did you realize that they said the most famous person on the cast of White Lotus season 3 was actually the actress playing the massage therapist or waitress who dated the security guard?
Yeah,
Asian girl.
She's a huge pop star.
Huge.
Yeah,
they said huge.
Just headlined
K-pop.
Coachella.
So Korea, China, Japan, all those worlds. She's massive, far and away the biggest star on that set.
Yep.
And I don't see any of these, like cricket, I don't see any K-pop stars on this list. So I'm wondering, like, does Taylor Swift transcend all those other genres? Is Taylor Swift big in India?
I mean,
is Taylor Swift big in China?
She sold out worldwide. I mean, everywhere. She's that big.
Okay.
Yeah.
At number 3, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yep.
I knew Messi and Ronaldo would both be top 5. I think it's true. Outside of basketball, no American football player, not Tom Brady, is making the top 10.
No.
No baseball player. It's these two soccer guys. At number 2, Vladimir Putin. And I buy that. Like worldwide name recognition. And what's up? What are you guys giving each other hand signals about?
Nothing.
Okay.
There's
all right, number 2.
There's a news story breaking.
We got a surprise for you later.
Yeah.
Oh, a news story breaking. Okay, let me get through this
We're
list.
thinking of two different things.
Something not good, but yeah.
No, we're totally on the wrong page.
Okay. At number 2, Vladimir Putin. And at number 1, most famous man in the world, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably true. That is your top 10 most famous people in the world. 2-a-days.
I think we're missing one that's ahead of Selena Gomez, Beyonce, musician Justin Bieber. I think he is higher on that list than those two.
Really?
I think he would be about a number 8, number 7. Justin Bieber
I don't
worldwide.
think he's above Beyonce.
He's close. He's definitely up there. I mean, just in terms of worldwide acknowledgement, he's huge. Does tours in Asia, across China, Japan, everywhere. I think he's notably missing from that list.
All right, James.
So on our ChatGPT search, one thing we've done is when you ask it a question, first you say, can you ask this question to give the best possible prompt? And it said things like, base it on pure recognizability and name recall across cultures, languages, age, and continents. Imagine dropping their name or face into a random village or airport or classroom on every continent. And it gave a similar list, but it was a little different based because it just gives you.
Who was number 1?
Ronaldo, then Messi, then Trump.
Huh.
Wow. Interesting.
Maybe
Interesting.
Okay. Buying a home is one of the hardest things to do and one of the most important life decisions. What are the metrics? What are the tips? How much should you be spending of your total income on your home? Let's get into that when we come back on The Will Cain Show.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown. Every Monday and Friday, Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you.
Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts. As President Donald Trump begins his second term,
promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises.
Stick with the Fox News Rundown as history is made during his first 100 days. Whether it impacts your family, your wallet, or the world, our team of journalists will give you the sharp analysis and perspective you expect from Fox News. The Fox News Rundown, the first 100 days. Listen and follow now at foxnewsrundown.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
It is time to take the quiz.
It's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
I'm having what she's having. It's a quote from a 1989 film starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Name the film.
E.T. When Harry Met Sally.
You got it. When Harry Met Sally.
Either way you did, you can always try again tomorrow. Take the quiz every day at thequiz.fox. Then come back here to see how you did.
Thank you for taking the quiz.
30%. That's always the metric I've heard. 30% of income is what you should devote to your mortgage, or I guess rent, when it comes to your home. Let's break that down today here on the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Scott Bridges is the Chief Consumer Direct Production Officer at Pennymac, and he joins us now. What's up, Scott?
Morning, Will. How are you?
Good. I heard you think we're missing somebody in our top 10 most famous people in the world.
Steph Curry on there. Steph Curry just won the Olympics for the U.S. with a bunch of shots. It's pretty incredible.
You think if you drop into a random village in Africa, they know who Steph Curry is?
I think they might. I think they might. I bet you China knows Steph Curry. They're a big basketball country. I think he's got worldwide recognition. I think he's the best shooter in the history of the NBA.
I think all that's true. I think there's a big fame drop-off from LeBron to Steph outside of America. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Even inside America.
Look, I watched basketball in the 80s and 90s, and I do agree that I think LeBron, he'd get clotheslined by Lambeer, and that was a different era of basketball. That was much, much more.
Yes.
He may not have made it for 20 years, right? It might have been a good 14 or 15, and we've been banged up and done.
Yeah, can you imagine making it 20 years in that NBA? No, and I give LeBron a lot of credit for playing into his 40s. That's incredible. All right, Scott's here to talk to us about our homes. Let's start with that figure I just gave, Scott. That's something I've always heard. 30% is a good back-of-envelope metric to talk about what you can afford when it comes to a home. But, I mean, is that gross income? Is that net income? What do you think of that?
Yeah, the way the calculation works, and it depends on, what loan product you go with. But if you went with a conventional loan, they would look at a 43% debt-to-income ratio, which would be a combination of your mortgage payment and all your other debts. They can't exceed 43%. So
all your other debts related to the home you're talking about? Or
your
debt?
Credit card debt, your car payment, and then your mortgage payment. That would be your debt-to-income ratio. So everyone's going to take a look at that when they underwrite the loan to ensure that you qualify.
And, of course, this has gotten so much harder for people to stay within these healthy ranges and ratios with housing inflation of costs where real wages have not kept up. So whatever, we're making X, it hasn't gone up the same way housing prices have gone up.
I would tell people that are looking to buy a home, stay calm and carry on. If you think about history, it's a fantastic teacher of what reality is. So back in 1977, interest rates were, running about 8.75, pretty high by today's standards. And if in 1977 you decided you were going to wait for rates to go down before you bought a house, you'd have to wait till 1992. And in between 1977 and 1992, rates peaked at about 18% in 1981. But the reality is, people that bought houses in 1977, housing prices doubled in that same time frame. So look, there's a quote. It's not mine, but I've heard it enough that I love to use it. It's, you marry the house, and you date the rate. So if you buy a house today at 6.5%, which by the way, is where rates have been on average the last 30 years. So I know during the pandemic, rates dropped to an unbelievable low. I've been in this business for 32 years. I've never seen rates that low. We were locking people into 2.75, 3.25%. That may never happen again. So the rates today at 6.5%, that's the average the last 30 years. So look, it's not a hopeless vacuum. There is plenty of opportunity to buy a home. And the best thing anyone can do, and here at Pennymac, we do it with consumers every day, is get pre-approved. It doesn't cost you anything to get pre-approved. And by getting pre-approved, we look at your income, we look at your assets, we pull your credit on a soft credit pull. Then you know what you can buy. And then that gives you, tremendous leverage when you go out and shop. And look, over the long run, you don't want to rent forever because, landlords can increase your rent every single year. Once you buy a home and you do a 30-year fix, your payment's not changing. And then, rent has inflation over, years and years and years. And if you lock into a payment and you're disciplined about it, that payment will stay the same or go down because you'll pick a period in 2 years or 4 years or 6 or 8, and you'll refi to a lower rate and a lower payment. So look, at Pennymac, we're bullish on the housing industry. There's plenty of, consumers that have had such a good experience buying and having appreciation. And, one last point on that, the principal means for the average American to gain and attain wealth is through the home.
So what is your advice then? I mean, those higher rates, especially compared to the 2-3% we got used to there for a while, though, they impact how much of a home we can buy, right? So I think if anything, that's what we should take home is like, okay, but you got to buy a cheaper home.
So potentially, yeah, look, it depends what you want. Like I always tell people, like, maybe you wanted, you're in Southern California, you want to live in Brentwood. Well, you probably can't afford Brentwood right now, but maybe you can buy on the outskirts of LA and you can commute and you can get a house. And, even the houses that, years ago, people perceived to be areas that wouldn't have appreciated really nicely. And it is an asset that tends to grow in value over time. And it really insulates you from any other, cost inflation that would be associated with rent, because rents have gone up dramatically. And, that's all over the country. So the landlords are winning. There's also great tax benefits to owning a home. You can deduct your interest. You can deduct your property taxes. Those are real benefits to owning a home. So yes, obviously the higher rates go, it does impact the qualification of consumers. However, there are tools that you can use. You can do a buy down. We offer a buy down. Builders often offer buy downs. And that allows the consumer to, so if rates are 6.5, you can do a buy down loan where the first year the rate's 5.5%. That gives you relief on your payment and then on your rate for a year. And then, potentially the year rates are lower and you can refinance. If they're not, your worst case is you're getting the rates that we have today. So there are tools.
How did we, I know it's a history question, but tell me if I'm wrong on this. The idea of the 30-year fixed rate, is a pretty revolutionary tool and is not common, or at least wasn't common to everywhere, right? Like that's not what they had in the UK. I mean, in the UK, they had floating rates, right? I mean, how did we get to this tool that seems to be so integral for home ownership in the U.S.?
I can't speak to the UK's rates and how they manage them. I can tell you that, the 30-year rate is an amazing tool for consumers to acquire a home. Most people don't carry their rate. Like the average consumer refinances about every 4 years. So, other than, the pandemic where we saw people, getting 2.75, 3.25, those people may hold those rates for the duration. There's a little bit of that impact to the market now where there's people that have those rates and they're reticent to buy a new home because they're going to effectively double the rate, right? They have 3.25 on their house. They're going to buy a new house, it probably costs more. And now they're going to pay 6.5. So you see a little bit of that in the market now where inventory is lower than it is, historically this time of year for the last couple of years. But I do think that, there's still people that have been sitting on the fence waiting for rates to drop the last couple of years that want to buy, whether they're a first-time home buyer or, they've had a kid, they have another child, and now the house is getting really cramped, or their mother-in-law or father-in-law, their parents are moving in and they need more space. So there's people that have been waiting. And that's why I give the example of sort of you can't predict rates. Like, you just don't know. Like, there's a lot of discussion now. Well, how are tariffs going to impact interest rates? Well, the book on tariffs isn't fully written. We don't know. There's a lot of things going on in the economy. In our world, we pay attention to the 10-year bond. That's really the driver of interest rates. And the 10-year bond over the last, 3 weeks has zigzagged. It's gone up, it's gone down. Look, the ability to get pre-approved, to understand what you qualify for, is the first step I would tell anybody. Like, if you're a first-time home buyer, or you want to buy up, or you want to buy down, or you want to move out, get pre-approved. Then you understand perfectly what you qualify for. And that arms you.
That 10-year note you're talking about, that seems to be what has surprised, that's what everybody reports, surprised the administration. Like, they thought this would be bringing rates down, and it has not.
Yeah, so it's understanding the domino effects of the economic impacts of tariffs, and none of us know how that's going to play out, right? And the Fed has raised rates pretty dramatically the last few years to offset inflation. And then the question of the day is, well, do tariffs ultimately cause inflation to go up? To be determined. Yeah, potentially. If building materials cost more and lumber costs more, then yeah, new houses may cost more. They probably will. But I would still say, if you think about history, buying a home is going to allow you to achieve and grow your own wealth.
All right, outside of getting pre-approved, what are your biggest tips for everyone in this market at this time? Like you said, it's a first-time home buyer or looking to buy up.
Save your money. Like, save your down payment. It's pay yourself first every single month. Squirrel money away, build a savings account, get your down payment in order. Take care of your credit. Your credit makes such a fundamental difference in what you qualify for. The 780 FICO borrower is going to get a better deal than the 680 FICO borrower. So take care of your credit. If you have any delinquencies, if you have any collections, pay them off. Prepare yourself to be in the absolute best position to buy that home. Also, don't make any large purchases. As we discussed at the beginning of the show, the debt to income ratio is going to be affected. So don't go buy that new bass boat. Don't go buy a new truck. Don't spend money when you're about to go make an offer on a house or get pre-approved. It will impact your debt to income ratio.
43% debt to income ratio.
43% your mortgage payment plus all your other debts. So keep your debt load low. You know what? If I could give advice to people, I'd say don't carry a credit card balance. Because the interest you pay on credit card balances is obscene, right? It's 20, 25%. Only buy what you can afford. Keep your debt limit low. Save your money. And then you're prepared. And by the way, for first-time home buyers especially, when you buy a home, as you know, you run into new expenses, right? When you're a renter, you don't pay for the roof repair. You don't pay for the air conditioner, the brakes. You don't pay for. That's on you. And you're either going to DIY that and go to Home Depot and figure out how to do it yourself, or more than likely, you're going to pay someone to do it. So those expenses will come.
I have paid for in the past 2 weeks, I've had to buy a new air conditioning unit. The roofers had to be out here. It's constant. It's constant.
It is constant. Yeah. And the older the home, the more maintenance you're probably going to run into.
All right. And you have a lot of these tools and guidance available for us at Pennymac.
Yeah, we do. In fact, we actually just came out with a Bring It Home series, which was there's a series of videos on YouTube and on our website where our best loan officers, and by the way, I'm not a talent agent, but the loan officers we chose did a fantastic job. And really it's addressing, what we saw were the number one search terms in housing on Google and YouTube. And the Bring It Home series of videos tells, customers how to get a mortgage, how a VA loan works, all these, and there's 20 of these videos coming out. There's 4 in the market now. I would encourage everyone, go to pennymac.com, watch those videos, and you'll find people that do it for a living explaining it to you. These aren't actors. These are people that originate loans or manage loan officers. And, how much mortgage can I afford is one of them. And it'll talk about your debt to income ratio.
Awesome. Okay. Scott Bridges from Pennymac. Thanks so much for walking us through some of those tips that I'm sure everyone is thinking about. Appreciate your time, Scott.
All right. Thanks so much. Go Longhorns. Take care.
All right. There we go. Hook 'em. There you go, Scott Bridges from Pennymac. All right, that's going to do it for us today here on The Will Cain Show. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back again tomorrow with the Cain on Sports edition, an hour with Todd McShay, getting you ready for the NFL Draft. We will see you again next time.